All right, yes indeed, it is time for us to turn our attention to rugby, and well, what a weekend that was, and what a weekend we have in store for us as well. We're going to talk with some Brian O'Driscoll goodness in just a little while. We're bringing some Joe Schmidt, and we're also going to hear from Donnacha Ryan about life in Paris, a fully fledged Tipperary Parisian. In the meantime though, I'm delighted to say Dave McIntyre's here. Dave,
how are you?
I think that you did us all proud last weekend and I'm delighted. I was like,
thank you,
sitting there on the couch going, go on Dave, go on.
Yeah, it was
congratulations, it was brilliant.
You wait your whole career for moments like that and you think you might not get one, and it arrives on day one. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here is what you're saying.
Well, look, we've had, the highlight of my news talk commentary career is the 2011 Heineken Cup final, when Leinster are 22-6 down. They dominate the second half, and it was under the roof at the Millennium Stadium. Just unbelievable stuff. There was the McLean goal, which obviously has been replayed many times over the last few months before kind of some of the gloss maybe taken off a few weeks later. But in terms of TV stuff, this was like off the charts. Just amazing. And I know this whole it's spinning stuff has been doing the rounds all week, but I had no idea what I'd said until someone had sent me the link. Because you're just caught up in it. You've no idea what's coming out of your mouth.
You were in the moment.
Yeah.
Precisely as Johnny Sexton was at the time.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. First instinct was, surely not from here. But then I watched it back on the Monday after I got home from Rome, and throughout each of the 41 phases, I'm waiting for someone to spill the ball.
Yeah, totally.
How do we not throw a handling error in there over the course of that?
That's kind of the Irish sports fans' history, is that we get close to moments of greatness and then something bad happens, like an offside goal against us or a handball or something ridiculous.
Well, this wouldn't have been anything to do with bad luck. It just would have been the odds against you. You're not going to go through that many phases with a wet ball, with the pressure at its greatest and your fatigue at its greatest, without somebody spilling it. It just goes to show what the team were capable of. Had they played with that level of precision for the previous 80 minutes, the game would never been even close to being time.
That's a good point that people might have been forgetting a little bit about this week. We'll come to that point in a minute, but why not? Let's just relive the moment one more time.
Sexton push Ireland back into a 9-point advantage. Hold that slightly, more than slightly. It's a bad miss from one of the best kickers in the world. Dupont, Teddy Thomas, space in front of Thomas. He could go through the middle here. Teddy Thomas for the line, and over he goes. Try for France, and the lead is won. Lost now. Last ounces of reserve are being eked out now. They're leaving nothing behind them, this Ireland team, in a bid to force the opening, but neither are the French.
On est à la 83e face à l'Irlande. Anderson.
The point at which a drop goal becomes possible.
Attention le drop, il arrive.
Sexton from outside the 10-metre line.
Sexton waits, here it comes.
It's spinning, it's spinning.
It looks good.
Le drop de Jonathan Sexton.
Right below his arm, goes out.
Jonathan Sexton has made it.
Il est là. Jonathan Sexton à la dernière seconde crucifie l'équipe de France.
Ireland have stolen the game.
He has snatched victory from the jaws of defeat for Ireland. The full-time whistle has gone, and Ireland defeat the French by 2 points.
C'est terrible. Terrible. What a strike from distance. Just creeps over. Incredible.
Good work, Dave. Bloody good work.
You can hear the delay between Jonathan Sexton and the words "has made it," because I was waiting for Nigel Owens to put his bloody arm in the air.
I know.
And it seemed like an eternity.
And you were in the ground, right? Watching on TV, they cut to Sexton, who's looking at the big screen, which is actually just a picture of the French rugby captain and him. And he's looking for confirmation from somewhere. And we're all going, is it over?
Yeah. So I just gave myself a tiny little bailout
On the off chance.
On the off chance that it was short. So
yeah.
And Sexton has left it short because fair play to Nigel Owens. There were other referees that may have just doubted what he had seen and gone upstairs, and there would have been an entirely different feel to the ending.
Yeah.
Still would have been over, obviously, but yeah, just looking at those pictures and this football-like celebrations, and it just contrasted to where we would be had he not kicked it.
I know. I wonder, is it worth thinking a bit more about how bad the performance was compared to what we had expected up to that point? Or did they get a free pass, and is this actually a really important moment in the team evolving? Like, you know, did the All Blacks analyse their game against us in 2013 and think, geez, we were really rubbish when Ireland were tearing us apart again and again and again? Or do they go, yeah, you know what, some days you're not at your very best, but grinding out the result is what's important? I can't tell.
Well, what would you expect from Joe Schmidt?
Well, Schmidt's definitely picking apart bits, but I'd say he's also trying to ride that sense of unity and togetherness and saying, right, like this, that feeling that you have in that instant, you need to bottle that, and that needs to be the thing that inspires you for the rest of your Ireland careers.
There's a balance.
So we win the World Cup.
Yes, there is a balance. They have to figure out what needs to improve on the back of that French performance, because there were parts of the game that were very good. Our set piece was excellent. Our kicking game was verged from the very good to the bang average, and our tackle count was decent. Like, the French had one opening in the entire game, so there were large parts of the game where we did very well, but obviously creatively, offensively, the inability to turn over quick ball was a major issue. Now, Joe Schmidt and his backroom staff and the Irish players would say there was far more than just their own performance levels at play in that particular aspect of the game. Yeah. They were not happy after the game. They were not happy with Nigel Owens. They weren't happy with a number of key decisions, but in its totality, they weren't happy with how the breakdown was refereed. They felt that the French tackler was able to keep himself a bit too close to the ball
non-stop,
for the entire game. So, yeah, you can point fingers at the referee, but at the same time, you have to be able to think your way out of those situations as well and do whatever it takes. You saw how quick the ball was at times in that 41 phase spell at the end. Some of the clear-outs were lethal, absolutely violent in the manner in which the French guys were rolled off the ball at times. So they brought such a level of frenzied intensity to those final breakdowns that maybe wasn't there enough during the game, but Joe Schmidt will ride the momentum. He'll tell them how incredible it is that they're in a position where they could, as a team, obviously Sexton gets all the plaudits for the ridiculous kick, but they were all part of that. But like I say, you bring that precision to the rest of the game, and the French just would have no answer to it. And we may not have scored tries, but we would have been keeping the scoreboard ticking over 12, 15, 18 nil.
Yeah. All right, let's actually hear from some Joe Schmidt. Here he is talking about Joey Carbery.
One of the great things about the Six Nations at the moment, and I hope in the future, is that it's played over 7 weeks. So, you know, if Johnny didn't start this week and didn't play next weekend, which he's unlikely to do, then he'd have 2 weekends where he hadn't played. Is that the best preparation for our next game as well? That's the thing that you're always balancing. For Joey, he may well come off the bench this week, and he potentially could play for Leinster next week, all things being equal, and he would still get that exposure at potentially 10. But even getting some rugby would be fantastic for Joey, because he had that period out. He's only really just back playing, and so we also want to be able to manage his entry back into the team.
Regards the breakdown last week, maybe the ball was a little bit slow in coming out, and I heard some analysis suggesting that the refereeing could have been maybe a bit better, maybe a bit clearer. Would you like it to be clearer this week, or do you need to take responsibility for it yourselves, as in?
You can't control what the referee is going to decide, you know, and we had one of the best referees in the world. It's still a difficult place to go and clean big men off the ball. So, you know, I don't think the Italians are going to try to make anything easy for us as well. Roman is as a rule, he likes to see people move quickly, and so, you know, that will potentially help both sides.
I had to laugh at the very opening of that, as if there's an outside chance that Johnny Sexton might be playing for Leinster next weekend.
Yeah.
Unlikely is how Joe put it.
Yeah.
I would have thought highly unlikely.
He's desperate to play. It's Scarlets, actually, isn't it? It's a decent game. Like, how much game time do we really expect Joey Carbery to get? The only circumstances, apart from injury, that I can see him getting game time is if we're 46-6 up at 50 minutes on the clock.
Yeah. For him to get significant game time,
I guess once the bonus point and a victory is
depends where he comes on to play, doesn't it? If Jordan Larmour's already on the field and he's on the wing, well, then there's a chance that Johnny Sexton might finish the game and Joey Carbery comes on and plays at 15. Personally, I wouldn't like to see Johnny still out there after an hour. He went through an awful lot last weekend, mentally and physically, and we just need Johnny to point the boat in the right direction tomorrow, and then maybe Joey Carbery, who's in desperate need of game time. 22 minutes since October.
Okay.
So is Joey Carbery going to be on the bench against Wales in 2 weeks' time? And if so, what if Johnny goes down after 5 minutes with an injury and suddenly you have a guy that has played little or no rugby? Now, he could well end up playing for Leinster next weekend, as Joe said, and that'd be a very good thing, I think. So it just depends what position he comes in.
Like, he's not sure. It was clear.
Yeah. He needs to be playing at 10. But there are no other options unless Ross Byrne is suddenly catapulted into the squad, and if he's not in the squad right now, you just don't see that happening. I would love to see Joey getting 20 minutes minimum tomorrow, but in order to do that, as you say, we have to be absolutely dominant in the game. The bonus point already has to be in the bank, and the Italians have to be broken physically, which I expect them to be. England scored 19 points in the last 12 minutes last weekend. The Ireland bench, I don't know if there's ever been an Ireland bench that is as loaded with game changers as this one tomorrow. You've got the carrying of Cronin and Porter and Healy and Stander there, and you've got the game strike runner type guys like Joey Carbery and Jordan Larmour. Would you want to be taking on Jordan Larmour when you're still on the pitch after 60 odd minutes?
No, if you're knackered and you've been chasing your tail.
And this is a poor Italian side defensively. They were some of the stuff they conceded last weekend. I think 4 of the England tries were off first phase ball,
which is something that you would have expected or hoped Conor O'Shea would have got to grips with by now.
Yeah, he's just chopped and changed so much in terms of selection. The centre partnership, which was so badly exposed last weekend in Boney and Costello, that's very green around the gills. I think they only have 15 caps between them still. They haven't played much rugby together, and it's a very new looking back line. He's made a couple of changes in the pack, particularly in the front row. I think a lot of that's down to fatigue. Geraldini is 33 now, and he played most of the game last weekend. I just don't know what to expect from Italy. Going forward, they showed they can produce a little bit. Scored a couple of tries against an England team that was kind of cobbled together in some ways. But the England back row just had the Italians for breakfast. Parise wasn't really an influence at all.
Yeah.
And if our back row gets on top early, we just got so many weapons to hurt them with tomorrow. Now, the weather's not going to be great.
Like the Levy-Conan 7 and 8 thing, like, is 18 months ago, Leinster fans would have been like, oh, Levy, that's not O'Brien and Heaslip. And now it's like they're just starting for Ireland and no one's batting an eyelid.
I know. You're right. No one has raised an eyebrow at the fact that these guys are suddenly in the starting 15 for a Six Nations game, and they've made as many changes as they did after a successful trip to Paris. So excited by that 7 and 8 combination. It's a pity we don't get to see James Ryan again tomorrow. I know there's a minor injury issue and they don't really want to risk it ahead of the Welsh game, but he had to basically scrap like a warrior for the entire game.
Is there a possibility that he was always going to play Devin Toner here, and that actually that's what they're managing people in and out? So James Ryan gets picked, and I like maybe the injury. I take all of their injury reports with a pinch of salt because
history tells us to do so.
Exactly. So someone has a knock, someone has a niggle, they'll be back in 2 weeks and we see them in 6 months, who knows. But it feels to me like that part of this was the plan, that you're going to give him stuff out there, and you absolutely want Devin Toner to know that you're a hugely important part of this. It's also interesting that it's Quinn Roux on the bench, for example, that like there was any number of opportunities for him to put people in, and he's gone with Quinn Roux, and Quinn Roux was left field selection back in South Africa that time.
Yeah, and did so well.
Yeah, so like
he's shown he's got options. I think you're right. Toner probably was always going to start this game. He is the leader of the line-out. The Italian maul is dreadful. They at one stage last weekend they were mauled out over the sideline off their own line-out, which if you saw that on a Sunday afternoon like the kids were doing it, you'd be all over them.
Yeah.
This is something you never see. Like if you throw the 2 on the line-out, or possibly 4 as well, there's a good chance you're going to end up back over the sideline, and that happened to them. They didn't really have they weren't backing themselves to go to the tail. Their defensive maul is non-existent. You conceded, I think, 3 penalty off defensive mauls last weekend.
So we're going to go to the maul early and often.
I think we're going to start hammering at them close in the first 20 minutes. And particularly, like you look at Peter O'Mahony last weekend, even one more line out in the Six Nations than any other player. He pinched a couple as well off the French. He is going to fancy his chances again tomorrow, and I would expect to score a couple of tries off them all tomorrow. There's no part of the Italian game that we should be in any way worried about at all, really. The French had 1 break in the entire game.
Let's get the thoughts of Brian O'Driscoll on this.
Let's not jump ahead to England just yet. Let's look at Italy in advance. They're much improved. Their skill level is vastly better on previous seasons. They've got good shape, but at home, I think we'll be able to pull them apart. And England ended up scoring 46 odd points, did they, against them? And you'd anticipate that we should be able to do something similar, where anything less than a bonus point would be disappointed with.
Does Jordan Larmour start?
Possibly. I don't know where he starts. I still think that he starts him on the wing if he's going to start him somewhere. There's a bit more protection there. You won't see the best of his attacking play because you need it. You need that in counter attack when the ball's kicked down to him. I wonder. See, Jacob Stockdale's not done a whole lot wrong. He didn't have his best game ever. He had that moment of the Teddy Thomas try, but he was relatively quiet. Rob Kearney had a good first 30 minutes and then a couple of errors. So, does he give them another go against Italy, or does he get brave and put Jordan Larmour in? I think it's a good game to put him in personally. If he wants to see him in that World Cup squad in Japan in 2019, I think this is a good game to start him with. Because there's a protection to this. If we're not beating Italy, reasonably comfortably at home, with this caliber of team now, we gotta look at ourselves, or what are we going to do in a World Cup? So. I think it's a good chance to play Jordan now.
Definitely being very cautious with Larmour here, because there's every sense that you could put him in instead of Stockdale in this game. That might be harsh on Stockdale. It might look like you're punishing him for the Teddy Thomas try, given that he was whipped off so soon after it last week. And say the game goes the way we expect it to, and Stockdale plays well, because he should. He's definitely the quality to do it. Hard at that point then to drop Stockdale. So this was the moment for Larmour to be able to force his way into the team for the bigger games down the line.
If he was going to start a game.
And that's gone now, I think.
It is gone. I really didn't think he was going to start a game. He's only 20. And there's still a lot of time. There's still the guts of 2 Six Nations Championships to get through before we even start looking at who might be in a World Cup squad. There's a lot of injuries to be sustained and rehabbed. There's a lot of summer rugby to be played as well. There are some huge Champions Cup matches that Jordan Larmour has to get into the team to play in. Like, is he going to be in the Leinster team when they take on Saracens at the Viva? Probably not. So this is what we're talking about here. Like, we're so quick to weigh a huge amount of expectation on his shoulders.
Does Fergus McFadden get in ahead of him because it's such a big game and you want that experience and you want that kind of physicality that he brings and his defensive solidity? Is that what?
Yeah, so we don't really know where he is defensively at the moment. And like, if we're talking about the Saracens game, you're up against one of the most physical teams left in the Champions Cup, and there's so much experience around him. Dave Kearney's probably going to be fit again. Rob Kearney will have a good few more games under his belt if he stays injury free. You've got Lowe, who's still continuing to settle in at Leinster, so it's going to be very hard for him to find a place in the wing in that game. I just think we don't need to worry about the World Cup. It seems on our doorstep because it's next year, but there's so much to be done before then. And you saw what Conor Murray did in 2011. Like, he made his debut in one of the warm-up matches at the Aviva Stadium. Or it was actually against the French in Bordeaux.
Yeah.
And like, Owen Redden was the starting 9 for that World Cup, and Isaac Boss was going to be backing him up. And we get over there and suddenly we realise Conor Murray's the real deal and he starts all of the big games. There's no reason why that can't happen Jordan Larmour next year. So there's just no need to rush into this. I'd love to see him get 20 minutes tomorrow. Maybe some minutes elsewhere in the championship, but I'd much prefer him to be in a position where he could force his way into the Leinster team for the Pro 14 playoffs, maybe for that Saracens game, and then he gets to play some proper rugby on the summer tour.
Alright, we need to talk about the England-Wales game because it's definitely the game of the weekend. Here's Brian O'Driscoll's thoughts on Warren Gatland.
Always be relevant when he's coaching against Ireland. He did feel badly burnt by it, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. And then you have the added impact of what went on, what was said after the Lions tour with Sean O'Brien. That also will have a bearing on how he preps the team for the week and how he, the extra words that he says in the dressing room beforehand. Or
he counted up every minute Sean O'Brien had played for Ireland against Wales that night at the Stella. He'd gone off and done work. He'd got somebody to look up the stats on how often Sean O'Brien had played for Ireland against Wales and how many of those games he'd won. It was like, he's a man who bears grudges.
He absolutely is. And he didn't need extra ammunition because of the stinging he got from Ireland when he was let go and Eddie O'Sullivan was promoted in 2001. But it's been added with what happened during the summer and the aftermath. So, he will have his team rightly primed for this, because they've come and spoiled the party before. They'll have... it won't be... The thing too as well, and maybe that's us looking at ourselves in a selfish way, they'll also be thinking slam.
Totally.
They're not thinking, we'll stop Ireland from winning, a slam. They're thinking, this is a year for us to win a slam. Trying to think when they last won one, was it in 2012? They came to Ireland and beat us. Remember that Stephen Ferris tip tackle that allowed Halfpenny to knock over a late penalty, and that was the difference. They'll feel that they can break this Ireland defence down, and with the confidence that they're playing with, hard to argue with that.
Yeah, it is hard to argue with that.
Wales believe. They've always believed. They've won 3 slams in the last, 14 years now, and when you expect them to deliver least, they tend to come up trumps, as they did last weekend.
Brand new team. It
is essentially a brand new team. 10 Scarlets started, and you're going to your third choice fly half. How many countries can go to their third choice fly half? You're talking Stephen Donald territory, trying to kick the penalty that wins the World Cup in 2011. But we've seen what Patrick can do. For me, the most entertaining team in world rugby, pound for pound at the moment, are Scarlets. And the guys that are producing week in, week out in the manner in which they produce for Scarlet did exactly that last weekend. Now, they're not going to have the space. I think they made 18 clean breaks last weekend, which is just ridiculous in a test match against another fellow top tier team. That's just not going to happen tomorrow.
England are 12 points favourites. I'm not having that.
12 seems a lot.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
6, 7, I'm like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
An England team that conceded a couple of tries to the Italians last weekend. But it is an England team that are going for their 4th win in a row against Wales. They're unbeaten at home under Eddie Jones. I think last weekend will have brought them on an awful lot. Jonathan Joseph coming in at centre instead of Ben Teo, I think, is a signal to Rhys Patchell that he's going to be slammed tomorrow in a way that he absolutely wasn't by the Scottish back row and the Scottish midfield a week ago. I love Danny Kerr at 9 and he's starting. Obviously he probably wouldn't have if Ben Youngs hadn't picked up that injury. And the back row of Laws, Rob Sean Simmons, from nowhere, absolutely nowhere. He wouldn't be in the team unless both Nathan Hughes and Billy Vunipola were injured. He was the best player on the pitch last weekend. Eddie Jones was talking about him a while ago and said he didn't think he was physical enough to play at test level. He's an absolute brute, but he's got the footwork and the hands that go with that. He's like Billy Vunipola Mark II in a lot of ways, but maybe a little more elegant when he's doing it. And they're a little bit weak on the bench, England, because they're missing so many guys, but the starting 15 is just class. I do expect them to win tomorrow, but I think Wales will fire a couple of shots at them. But it's just going to be so hard for this inexperienced Wales team to go to Twickenham and win.
Definitely in two minds here. You want Wales to win, but then you'd be a little bit worried about Wales coming to Dublin and just annoying us by winning.
And bit by bit, they're going to get some of these guys back. So George North has been introduced to the bench for tomorrow. They might have a couple more back.
Liam Williams on the bench as well, is he?
Yeah, Williams as well, and we saw what he can do both for Saracens and for the Lions over the last 6 to 12 months. You would worry that if Wales come with 2 wins from 2, having gone to the most difficult place and won, as Brian O'Driscoll said they're thinking Grand Slam, and Gatland has led them to the Grand Slam in his time there, and it's almost like the pressure has been taken off them because of the amount of guys they're missing.
Dave, good stuff. Congratulations again.
Thanks a million. Hopefully we might get a few more Sexton-like moments over the next few weeks.
Were you nervous much before?
Yeah. Every so often you get taken out of your comfort zone. But the first time you do something, last time I was that uncomfortable in terms of nerves. Probably was the first All-Ireland final I did for Sky a few weeks ago. First Heineken Cup final for News Talk, first Premier League game you do. You just kind of move on from event to event. So this weekend will feel far more comfortable.
Yeah, slightly bigger audience this time.
Yeah, no ads to compete with this time around. And in that there are no ads on the BBC. I don't think it's on the BBC. Sure, I think it's on ITV. So you might as well watch it on TV3.
There you go. All right, enough of your corporate chilling. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Donnacha Ryan joining us in studio. He's home from Paris for a little while for, in fact, the weekend to watch the game. So if you want to stay tuned, we'll be right back with Donnacha Ryan after these. All right, I'm delighted to say, comment allez-vous, Donnacha Ryan?
Très bien, très bien.
Ouais.
Oui.
How's the French coming along?
Je parle français comme une vache espagnole.
Wow.
Basically means I speak French
Like a Spanish pig?
Like a Spanish cow.
Not bad.
Yeah, no.
You French for leaving?
No, I did German and I did then I did Irish University. So I really had no French going over at the beginning. But yeah, it's been at the start it was very difficult. But we've 2 classes a week at the club, 2 French classes a week. Kind of studying with the Tongan and the Samoan guys, so it's kind of can be a bit slow. But I do my own class as well on a private class on we have a day off on a Thursday.
Right.
So just trying to get to see Paris as well, and to be shown around. I get my teacher to meet me in different landmarks around the city.
Nice.
So we'd have a class in the Eiffel Tower. There's a restaurant there.
Oh, nice. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, Gallery Lafayette. There's a lovely cafe up there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so and then we go up to Sacré-Cœur. It's a lovely place to go. Yeah, so you just basically every week just to go somewhere different, and then you can get to see Paris.
Is these mandates, or is your missus getting a bit jealous?
No, she's she'll be my French teacher now. And in the coming weeks, she'll be moving over as well. So it'd be great. It'd be good to get to see the place, get the show around as well. So
you were delighted to be injured for the first 5 months of the season.
I won't lie to you, no, I wasn't. It was because my first the reason that kind of spurred me on to do it was I basically I had a bit of a knock I was carrying from the Wales game last year in my neck, and it kind of carried into the start of the season, and I thought it'd be fine, and then I got another bang against Bayonne. It was kind of blew up I had a cracked vertebrae and a hernia, so I ended up having to get a neck fusion. So basically I had to get the operation done in Bordeaux, and my French the nurse that were in that was there, she didn't speak any English, so she was asking me, first question was tu as célibataire, so are you single? And I said no, j'ai mon copine, and it goes mon copine, so it means mon copine is I have a boyfriend as opposed to ma copine. So I was like, no, j'adore femme. And then so I was like, okay. And then the next day she came in and she says, comment ça va? And I was like, je suis très chaud, which I thought that meant was I am very hot because it was very warm. But it actually means something else. So she says, je sais. So this 60-year-old nurse was like, who the hell is this guy? And so I learned to know the difference between coup and co. So that's, I don't know if anyone who knows French.
Just explain a bit.
Coup is your neck, co is the opposite end of the anatomy. But so there was a calamity of things that spurred me on to start learning French. So no, it was the first. Because even the operation, the surgeon mentioned, he's like, you'll return in 10 semaines, and I was like, 10 semaines, is that like months or so 10 weeks? So I was back after 10 weeks after neck fusion. So
that's amazing, because it used to be like a 6 month, maybe a year out with neck fusion, right?
Yeah. I used to be 6'6". I'm 6'3" now. So it was he's a fantastic surgeon, great surgeon, and I rehabbed very hard because at the start I was just trying to make a good impression. It's like you starting a new job and not being able to speak, so you're trying to get in and try and make a good impression as possible. And I felt like under pressure as well there because there's question marks over. He's like, what type of guy is this guy? He's Irish as well. So what do you like?
Is he going to leave us?
Yeah, no. It was just, but yeah, no. It was. They were very, very good. They're very, very good. And
neck fusion is no joke, though. Like, it's a really serious. Like, I remember, I'm always struck. Brian O'Driscoll's book, he has the X-ray of like the piece of metal in his neck, and how serious that conversation was with the doctors. Like, will I be able to play again? Yes, but if I do, I might put myself at risk. And it's like, no, loads of people have had this done now, and so, but it's not as straightforward. Like, it's not like getting your arm bandaged and a bit of plaster cast around it and you go, okay, I can see this, it's going to be fine. It's a really serious thing, right?
Yeah, it is very, very serious. So what they do is they go in through the front of your throat, and they pull your trachea and whatever else is there to the side, and they just take out the vertebrae and just fuse it with a metal cage and 4 screws, and you just turn into a bit of a tin man. But no, Like anything really. I would have had to get it done eventually because I'd pins and needles going on the outside of my two fingers for the end of since probably the Wales game, and like, you know, as I said, just wanted to try and keep playing as much as I could because I was really enjoying it, and that's the joys of playing, because you're really mad to play. And your vehicle, your body is not letting you do it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you just say, look, just suck it up and just get on with it. And
so it's not there's no philosophical decision about the decision to continue. It's like, I'm going to do this because I want to continue, and it's the right thing for me.
Yeah. Well, I know. I'd a really like. I probably would tag been injury prone, but I've had just two big injuries. Was my
your rubber toe,
my bloody toe, and freaking thing, and I dislocated shoulder for years ago. But other than that, like, I was always available for selection. I was just behind two of the greatest second rows in Irish rugby. It was Paulie and Dunners for 7 years, and just basically that was it. And it was for me. I think at that stage I knew I was making the move to wrestling, and everyone has probably the stigma of, you always remember when you're going out the door. And I really, really enjoyed my last year playing with Munster and playing with the lads. And I said, look, if I was looking back in 10 years' time, like, you know, if I had to feel, how would I feel looking back on it? And I said, look, it's going to be a bit of short-term uncomfortable, but I don't regret it. I had some great memories towards the end of the year, and it was a pity we didn't come away with something, but we had a great year. And it was
that's the decision to play through the injury as opposed to get the surgery at that point, or was that even an option for you?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't. There was something up alright when you when you have the pins and needles. But to be honest, look, I didn't think it was a big deal, because I've played every player plays with pain, like, and it just depends how what's your threshold really. And look, I think I was doing okay. If I wasn't performing well enough, they would have dropped me, and then you can start looking at it from there. But if it was,
and are you grand now with the?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good now. I would like to have been able to. So it was 10 weeks. So the second clocked in 10 weeks, they were like, right, out you go, play. And whereas I would like to have done some weights, because I was just doing my neck rehab stuff predominantly, because you have to let it set for the first 6 weeks. And then you got 4 weeks really just try and strengthen it up. So that was taking up a lot of the time. But yeah, no, it was great. It's been going good so far anyway, so I haven't had any complaints. But it's been, as I said, I would like to have done a bit more upper body weights, because with games, it's very hard to build muscle and get stronger as well, because you're still recovering from the games of the weekend. And we train very hard. We train long and hard, and we probably play a match during the week for about 20-30 minute game.
Yeah.
So it's like for instance, my second row partner is 145 kgs, and you kind of generally find yourself paired up with guys in your own position. So whereas I'm only 113, so you're kind of through the short straw here. But no, it's good. I like that. I love that challenge as well, because I can do things he can't do, and vice versa as well. So and also as well, just tackling him enough times as well, it increases my durability to tackle bigger guys as well. So that's it can only be a good thing.
The second row definitely seems like a position that the experience can't be overvalued. That we kind of like. It's great to have these young, explosive players that are certainly, we're seeing some in Ireland, and certainly there's been loads in England in recent years, but that actually, you know, you go back through time and it's at the end of their careers that the second rows earn their legendary status, because they're able to mould the team and actually guide the forward pack the way they need to. You think of Martin Johnson, you think of Paul O'Connell, and you even think of Simon Shaw on that Lions tour. Like, I think he might have been 36 or 38 at that point. So, like, your form, it seems to me, in the last Six Nations was the best you've ever played, and the performance against Munster for Racing was as good as anything you've ever done. Do you feel that way, or is there part of your 27-year-old self that you'd love to have back to be able to go with the brain power you have now?
That's a very good question, and I thought about that before, because when I was 26, 27, I had ambitions playing for Ireland, and I was seriously looking at moving, because at the time, like with Paul and Dunners there, and they were incredible. So you make a conscious decision whether, right, okay, am I going to go abroad and I get to play more games and get to see what I'm like at playing, but I really, really did want to play for Ireland, and I really, really did want to learn. So I don't know, guys say, I'll go abroad and I'll be able to compete against Paul, or like for me, Paul, the best second rows in the world, or I can. The way I looked at it was I can study this guy and see how he operates on a day-to-day basis, how he carries himself when he's up and when he's down, and you get to see every part of how a player operates on a weekly basis, and basically how Paulie has a process of how he approaches a game, and is just trying to learn his process, see what works for you. And then, because I did spend those 7 years behind the two lads trying to either copy them, because that's what the coach wanted, and then I realised at the end of it wasn't that anything got to do with me or the players. It was just that's what the coach said. It was just his opinion. Yeah. It was one person's opinion. So it's like a boss when he promotes one particular person. It's just his opinion. It's not that you're a bad player or you're a bad employee or whatever. It's just that you've got to be. They said, right, okay, so I'm in the business of trying to change opinions, so I just got to focus more on myself and be better. So playing, as I said, sorry, just copying Paulie studying Paulie for that particular time and the nuances he did. And then when he got injured and I did get my opportunity, I felt that I was ready, then a lot more ready than I was before. Yeah, that has helped me now.
Okay, so you wouldn't tap yourself on the shoulder at 27 and say, go off to England for a couple of years?
No, I love playing for Munster. I absolutely love playing for Munster. It was great, and not having moved to Racing, it even just highlights the fact even more. I love playing for Ireland as well, and I support the guys. Munster lads, I watch all their games. You love to see how they're getting on. Even the academy guys getting their run, and it's great to see so and so playing. And as I said, look, I had heroes growing up. I said this before, I had heroes growing up into Munster that I looked up to, and I get to play with them. And you do get younger heroes as well as you get older as well. And it's great. Well, it was weird playing against the lads the last day and seeing, but it was great at the same time getting to see, who hits actually hard in the game and how they actually carry themselves as well. And from my point of view, I wanted to show us I can still play as well. I'm still competitive, and even though they would have been played alongside me, but it's nice to, I suppose, kind of sharing the other side of things.
Like, obviously everybody watching is going, then what the hell happened? Like, why aren't you still playing for Munster?
Yeah, look, the reality is I was there for 13 years, and there's no easy way of saying it really, but everything comes to an end. Everybody has to retire, even if you don't want to retire, but you've invested so much in a club over the years, and I suppose that's a very hard decision to take, especially when it's not your decision as well at the same time. And that does happen to players, and they probably would think there's another year or two maybe left in them.
Well, clearly there was.
Well, no, but eventually that comes.
Yeah.
But you'd rather take the decision, I suppose, really to, it's okay, right, I don't know how long more I'm going to be able to play for. So I said, right, okay. I said, I've been here 13 years, I've had an amazing time, and I said, look, I need to go for trying to get out of my comfort zone, try a new challenge, and obviously prepare for the next chapter of your life, really, because at the end of the day, I'm not in a position where I'm going to retire from rugby and I'll be able to sit back and relax. I have to get a job afterwards and get work experience, and I'm always trying to keep as active as possible outside of rugby to try and prepare for that. And it's my biggest fear is what am I going to do next, because you were having a career where you moderately successful, that you're playing at a good level, that you look to your next career and everyone says, well, what's he doing now? Or that's generally the question when a guy retires. Well, what are you doing next? And that's probably why it's probably good to kind of get out of the comfort zone and not be as dormant when you're thinking about maybe staying in. There's nothing wrong with staying in Munster forever, but it'll always be there as well.
So what we'd heard, and we may as well talk about this so that we can clear it up. What we'd heard was that Munster were annoyed that the IRFU didn't offer you a central contract, and that they decided your age as the reason for not offering you a central contract. Is that the process? Is that what happened? Like, did you go and say, okay, I want to stay, or did you think actually it's time for me to leave? Like, where's the push-pull in all this?
I suppose in in the end, there was like, from a contract point of view, there was in the end there was no difference at all. There's no difference between staying or going. There's no difference. The thing was, I probably just did that, going through that journey as well. That period of time, I realised, okay, it's going to come down to a stage where, you know, you are going to have to leave. You are going to finish. You're going to leave. And then, whereas, how hard would I find that leaving as well, if it was out of my hands? And I suppose the same thing is that, right, I need to prepare for that as well. And then that's probably the reason why is, like, look, it does get difficult for players when they do get older.
Yeah,
there's supporters up in the stands still think they should be still playing.
Yeah.
My dad still hasn't retired from county hurling, and he's 70. I probably shouldn't say that, but you never feel that you have retired or you're finished. And as I said, it's just having gone is probably just highlights the fact even more that how much I love my experience there. I loved it, and as I said, I'm probably glad I did it.
So ultimately, it was your choice in a way. Like, is that?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, yeah, exactly. You just gotta, like, make your own decisions as well. We're all big boys as well. At the same time, you know, it's, you know, it's an ideal world. You'd love to keep playing forever, but you just got.
The Munster fans definitely felt that there was like an unfairness in the situation where they wanted you to stay, but the part of you wanted to go anyway. Is that like, am I reading that right?
I obviously love to stay. I'd obviously would love to stay in Munster. Like, geez, and you love to stay forever, keep playing forever. But it'll be quite difficult to broach that when it comes to the stage where that decision is not there for you, or when you're kind of see yourself being kind of pushed to the side, because it is important for Munster to bring on the younger generation and Irish guys, because I know the players going to come on, like for instance James Ryan at the weekend, to just roll on, and that's the way it goes, and it's great, because that's the evolution of what happens. Someone else has got to come in there and pick up the mantle. And
was Ireland, like, in playing for Ireland, how much of your decision was like, there's a World Cup coming, and I just did really well in Six Nations, so, you know, how much of that was part of thinking, or can you just?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd play that well in the Six Nations. I don't know. You don't know. There's so many variables into that future question as well.
There's no conversation with Joe Schmidt saying, "Here, listen, I'm wrestling her in for me. I'm interested in going. What's the story?" You don't do that. Do you have one of those conversations?
Yeah, well, they're kind of more grey enough, but look, to be honest, I kind of more looked at, like, my own situation currently, and then I said, look, I had to look what's best for myself, I suppose. That's in a nutshell. I'd love to keep going as well, playing for Ireland, but at the end of the day, they've got to keep building for the World Cup as well. They're doing the maths, like, will he make it or won't he? I'm sure, and that's fair enough. Like, you know, it's hard to take as well as a player, because you're all competitive animals, really.
Yeah.
Like, and when you're talking about age, I think age is a completely irrelevant thing. If you were to put 2 GPS scores in front of you without the age there, you'd pick the guy who's doing the most mileage or who's got the highest speed, whereas when you put the age in as a factor, it's a lot different. Whereas nowadays we have that technology as well. Yeah. So I don't know. I think, as you said, second ones, they do get a bit more when they have more miles in the clock. The durability is a bit there, I think. Yeah, and that's kind of why I brought that up. It does feel like you're reaching, injury notwithstanding, but you're reaching a point now where your cruising level, your basic performance will never dip below the way, like, but it's supposed to, right? I don't know. Well, I wish that was written stone. Yeah, well, that's what's out there, and the experience for me definitely helps. Like, the knowledge from line-out stuff, it's you know, it does come in handy, especially when, like, you know, the Munster game was great. Like, but at the same time, you know, it's like, you don't know what an injury is going to happen on the line. So, and to be honest, it's just as I said, it's just trying to prepare for the next chapter as well, because I wouldn't encourage, like, players to leave Ireland at a young age. Playing for Ireland is the greatest honour you're going to get. Yeah, that's where you want to play it. But at the same time, there is other options in life as well, and it's the same thing. It's at the end it's sport. You're enjoying it, and you may as well enjoy other aspects of the game as well, and you appreciate those opportunities playing for Ireland and Munster. As I said, when you do go away.
Well, because like the Tadhg-Burn route is obviously something that we're seeing a bit more of, where a glut of players come out at the same time. Not everybody's going to get the full proper opportunities from the academy through the pathway to at the moment predominantly Leinster, and actually that's not a bad career path for players to take either.
No, absolutely, I totally agree, because there's only a certain amount of quota of players in a position that the provinces can play. And then you start dipping into the subs, and then there's question marks then, or if you're dipping into subs in a certain province, why aren't you just picking the starters and the other ones? So there's a variety of questions, but the best thing of the Irish and what the route Tadhg-Burn has done, it's great. I think he's an amazing player. He's great, he's unbelievably fit, his breakdown work is incredible, and he's a great ball carrier, and the versatility factor, I think anyways, going to the World Cup is a huge strength to the Irish pack, because I know he wouldn't consider himself as a versatility one, but I went to a World Cup as a versatility second row, back row, and it's you need those players, especially going to Japan because of the distance and whatnot. But I think him going away and then coming back then gave him a platform to the Irish coaches and obviously coaches in Ireland that I can still do the business. Yeah. And then obviously he's come back into the Irish setup, because the Irish setup, you are in a really controlled environment. Like, everything is really laid on for you, from a strength and conditioning point of view to your dietitian, your DEXA scans, all these kind of things. And it does, when you're in the system, it allows players to, and they rotate a lot, because I know that you guys would be the biggest fan of the Pro 14 as well, but Pro 14 is a brilliant league. It's a very, very good league, and the ball's in play an awful lot. You're seeing a lot of guys, a lot of ball in play a lot more often, and it gives the exposure for younger guys to be able to. I think it's vastly improved in recent years. Like, there was definitely a period of time when the provinces were like, this is just a league, I can't believe we have to do this, when can we get back to the glory days of the European Cup? And then there was a couple of seasons where the European Cup didn't go very well, and they were like, maybe we actually need to take the league a bit more seriously here, folks, and remind everybody that we need bums on seats, and we need to play our best players, and we need to. And so I think everybody, the league has matured a bit. That would be my take on it. Yeah, look, the reality is, we're in is kind of an entertainment kind of game, so people, when they're watching the game, want to see the ball in play, and like the ball in play in a Pro 14 game is on average is 43-44 minutes, and you look at the Munster-Leinster game in Thomond Park, the ball is in play 51 minutes. Yeah, it's crazy. So that's great. And then, but like at the same time, people then, when they're having a go at maybe players for being injury prone, the probability of a player getting injured is significantly increased, because you're under fatigue and the ball is in play an awful lot more. Yeah. So guys are going to get injured, and they're going to be breakdown, and that's what happens as well. So whereas you look at the top 14, the ball is in play for an average about 34 minutes, and like you have these power instant moments like that are incredible, but then it's kind of a bit of a slog from here. A bit more like American football, really. Yeah, and whereas I've just in the last, I suppose, month or two that I've probably changed a bit is we've in Racing we have in the new stadium, the arena, we've so we played against Claremont, and even the Munster game, the ball was in play a lot, but in the Claremont game, I was chatting to Ron Poit after the game, and he said it was the fastest game and the longest time the ball was in play he's ever been involved in. Right. So the ball was in play about 43 minutes in that game. Okay. But the reality is, so you take the Munster-Leinster game in Thomond, and let's say if you're a 100-metre sprinter, and if I say give you two tracks, you say, listen, there's a dirt track here for you to run your 100-metre sprint, or an Olympic track here, which you want to run fast. Yeah. You're going to pick the Olympic track. And you look at, in the arena, sterile conditions, people want to go and see people running. Like, if you're going to watch a 100-metre sprint in Olympic fire, you want to see who's running the fastest, not who's coming eighth. Yeah. So as I said, the lads can reach top speed way quicker in the arena, and I know the Munster guys, the backs anyway, they definitely enjoy playing that, and I think that's going to be kind of the future.
I was going to say, but how knackered are you after it?
Yeah, you're sucking diesel as well. Because after 20 minutes, I looked at the clock and I can't believe we're going to play 60 more minutes of this. This is insane. And I even looked at Roman, but he was resetting a few scrums that there was nothing wrong with him. He was Kevin. And even afterwards, he said he was giving me a rundown on his abductors and his lower back and everything. But
French?
I know he speaks English now. He's a good guy.
Well, the rest of the season's looking pretty sweet for you guys.
So we just came back from we played Cast away last week, and we had a good win, and we went to Hong Kong after that, and we played the Sharks. So it was very interesting playing a Southern Hemisphere side. There was a player playing for them at the time, Tomas de Toit. So I found it interesting playing against the Southern Hemisphere team. Now our lads, we kind of enjoyed ourselves all week, and we had a game of soccer as a captain's run. So I don't know if our hearts were in it, but it was very interesting to see. Like, the Sharks are playing Super Rugby in 2 weeks, and we probably didn't have our first or second string probably out a bit, and it was interesting to see that. There wasn't much of a difference, and maybe it's just South African rugby, and they were missing 4 players, I think, international. So it's early days for them as well. But I'd always be interested to see how the Pro 14 teams would put up.
Fair, yeah,
because I think we currently undersell ourselves a lot, and I think the systems that are in place now at the moment in the league as well, and in Ireland, they're very, very good, very, very good, and up there with the best in the world. So it's
look at Scarlets basically being the Welsh team, and all of a sudden the league looks amazing.
It's great, and like Scarlets was struggling there a couple of years ago. So, but yeah, we had a great time, and what's interesting in Hong Kong is pro rugby is turning into the most important, it's number one sport there as well, and they have an outside chance of making the World Cup as well. So you kind of think, God, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But I was doing a bit of a Q&A thing, and I was asked, there was all the South African guys were there, and they were saying, should Hong Kong be in the World Cup, and I was like, well, Japan played New Zealand about a couple of the World Cups ago, and they got beaten by 100 points, but they didn't do too bad in the last World Cup, as well. So they kind of went down and let a balloon half the crowd, but anyway, so I think it's fantastic to see, because the likes of Sri Lanka has they've 120,000 registered rugby players.
Right.
You've got kids and stuff, so it's grown in age as well. But so that was, as I said, we were wrestling or trying to promote their brand down there as well, which is kind of something I'd never really think, why would rugby do that, because it's more of a soccer thing to do. But
I guess that's the model, right?
That's exactly. And your man Lawrence Eddy, as the owner. He's got a wine business as well, so I'm sure he's dropping off a few bottles of wine in Hong Kong at the same time, trying to sell a few there. But so anyway, so we're back on Sunday, and we're playing La Rochelle in the U Arena next week.
That should be handy.
They're top of the table, but they're all, the top 14 is just such a everyone says, it can be hard going there, but any team can win on a day, which is like a Gen can win or INX can win. It's because the threat of relegation, and that's what can kind of drag down a team. And so it's very, very tense, the games are, and it's great going to those games with the lower teams, because there are small towns like INX has got 25,000,
right?
30,000. It's tiny, and Agen is pretty small as well. So you got these, and the whole town is in behind the team.
That's special.
It is. It's great. And afterwards, then they're the locals are delighted to have photos or whatever and whatnot. But it's really good to experience that, because it is that tension of a Champions Cup game on a weekly basis as well. Although when you look at, as you said, it's kind of the your arena is kind of turned into more of a theatrical type of an event.
That's where you're definitely in the entertainment business.
Yeah, you're kind of like, Jesus, this is it's a bit much. There's a lot of when you're kind of getting worried when you're getting rid of the
giant screen.
Oh man, I'll tell you a story about that actually. So we had to do a photo shoot for that, and so they had 5. You said you 5 photos. You have to do 5 different photos for
Halloween, Christmas. And
no, it was just for the big screen.
Okay, right.
So we said this is going to be on the big screen. So we're going to have 5 different photos. So we want you happy and whatever and
fruity.
All this,
French.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like. So anyway, so they had to do all these photos, and they were like, you need to look straight down the camera. And they said, yeah, I'm looking at the camera. I said, no, straight down the camera. He said, if you don't look down the camera, your eyes will look strange because your head will be 4 meters wide on the screen. I said, 4 meters wide? He said, so my broken nose is going to look 2 meters crooked. So I was like, just a mass exodus out the door, and you see this thing coming up on the screen, but but it's an interesting sports model what they've done, because they've modelled on the 1980s in the NFL that people were not going to attending games as much as they were, so they were finding that people were staying at home, they were able to get the replays,
watch on TV,
watch on TV comfort, and what your man Lorenzetti's done, and they should be applauded really. Like,
your ref links for everybody who goes to a match is like, you have to have the ref link, otherwise you haven't a clue what's going on.
Exactly, yeah, and as people get more and go now, what I find in Paris, they're more spectators than supporters. We're down south, they're different. But your man Lorenzetti's persistent with it, and he's like, I have to hand it to him. Like, I don't know if people mention about because the big money it's in France, but they really are trying to drive the game. Like, it's their own money, and they're pumping it into the game that they love. And I'm looking at this guy, and the amount of time he's investing in a rugby team, which he could be going off doing anything else, is great. Is great, and he's just really trying to drive the game forward, and it's good for the Champions Cup as well, because it adds
totally.
It's a build up for you guys for the Irish teams as well. So it's brilliant. But
But look, you've been brilliant with your time. But last question, the Italy game, we need a bonus point, because that's kind of what the table gets set by England's bonus point win, and that's how this whole thing is going to play out.
It's no brainer, right?
You can't chase the bonus point in this game. Like, we've got to just crush them for 60 minutes, drag them into the deep water. All those cliches, which are
oh no, absolutely. And I think Italy are getting better. You look at Treviso, how good they've gotten as well. I think I don't know how sure this is, but Treviso and Zebra are training together a lot more.
Okay.
So that can only help as well. And they're very motivated, the players as well, because they have a weird kind of, as players, they don't sometimes they wouldn't get paid for 2 or 3 months on end, and then they get paid alphabetically on their name and stuff. So
even now, Jesus, I thought they got rid of all that, but
I don't know. Maybe it's changed since Connor's gone in, but it's tough for them. And these guys are motivated. And I think with Connor going in there with O'Shea and the other coaches putting systems in place, it's not going to be perfect all right now. But they're getting. You can see that they are putting structures in place. You want to have the same cohesion with new guys coming in, which Joe has really down patent. The guys who come in, they know exactly what they're doing. They've no need to be nervous, because all they have to do is a job and just be as aggressive. And you're dead right. You just got to, the fitness levels of the Italian team are an awful lot better. But I think Ireland, just with that back line, I think they need to win more games together. Everyone's crying out for chopping and changing, but you need to have consistency as well, and guys to get that under pressure in Test rugby. And I think they'll, unless they get a really good break at the start, or break the mentality of the Italians, we'll have to grind it out for first 30 and the second half, the next 15-20 minutes, and then I think they'll definitely get the bonus point, especially at home with the supporters, because the Viva's turned into a great fortress there as well, which is great. Well,
listen, it sounds like you're having the crack.
I know, that's the thing. Why not? It's, I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, we're playing Claremont in the quarter final, and sure could be playing Munster again. I think they will beat Toulon. I think they're looking so good, and very, very well organised. So I think we're playing in France, so it should be a bit of crack if we beat Claremont. But they're I think they've had a lot of injuries, so I think it'll be very tough for us going on there. But as I said, I'm really enjoying it down there. It's a different experience, and it's great when you get to come home and catch up as well. So it's good.
Good stuff, Donnacha. Thanks a million.
Yeah, great. Cheers. Thanks.